When we are bewildered, we do not distinguish what is religious and what is not religious. At that time, there is need of Guru. That is the Vedic instruction. Tadvijnanatham sa gurumeva vigache. Material world means in every state there is danger. So, therefore we should take guide from Guru, from the spiritual master, how to make progress. The injunction of the Vedas that if you want real knowledge, you must go to Guru. Now there are so many gurus. Where shall I go? You should go to a Guru. Samitpani Sudryam Brahmanishtam. You shall go to a Guru who is Brahmanishtam, a great devotee. He is good. One who has full knowledge in Brahma. Athato Brahmadi.
Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. A very warm welcome to all of you on day 16 of Srila Prabhupada Lila, Dancing White Elephants. Now Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a household word. It's a global revolution. The movement is known to all because the top of the celebrities, Beatles, have picked up Krishna consciousness, especially George Harrison. And everywhere people are playing, dancing, and Hare Krishna is very widely known. Now Srila Prabhupada comes back to India. He had traveled barely 4 years ago to America, and in just 4 to 5 years, Srila Prabhupada has made it a global success. But before he comes back to India, as we'll be discussing the wonderful reciprocation of India, which happens to Srila Prabhupada and his dancing white elephants, Prabhupada does something very, very, very significant. And what is that? Let's discuss. After London, Srila Prabhupada returned to America, where he spent some 7 months in his US centers, especially a long time in Los Angeles. During late July in Los Angeles, he revealed his plans for establishing a governing body commissioned to manage ISKCON. To this end, he dictated the following on July 28, 1970. I, the undersigned A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, disciple of Om Vishnupad Paramhans Ashtottara Shat Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada, came in the United States in 1965 on September 18th for the purpose of starting Krishna consciousness movement. For 1 year I had no shelter. I was traveling in many parts of this country. Then in 1966 July, I incorporated this society under the name and style, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, briefly ISKCON. Gradually the society increased, and one after another branches were opened. Now we have got 34 branches enlisted herewith. As we have increased our volumes of activities, now I think a governing body commission, herein after referred to as the GBC, should be established. I am getting old, 75 years old. Therefore, at any time I may be out of the scene. Therefore, I think it is necessary to give instruction to my disciples how they shall manage the whole institution. They are already managing individual centers represented by one president, one secretary, and one treasurer. And in my opinion, they are doing nice. But we want still more improvement in the standard of temple management, propaganda for Krishna consciousness, distribution of books and literatures, opening of new centers, and educating devotees to the right standard. Prabhupada then listed the names of 12 persons who would form the GBC, and he noted, "These personalities are now considered as my direct representatives. While I am living, they will act as my zonal secretaries, and after my demise, they will be known as executors." The next day, Prabhupada drafted another significant statement naming several of his disciples as trustees of his Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Bhaktivedanta Book Trust account will be used to publish my books and literature and to establish temples throughout the world. Specifically, 3 temples are to be established, one each in Mayapur, Vrindavan, and Jagannath Puri. Although Srila Prabhupada intended the GBC to oversee the activities of ISKCON, he was not creating a monolithic structure. He wrote to Karandhara, a GBC member, "Each temple must remain independent and self-sufficient." That was my plan from the beginning. Once there is bureaucracy, the whole thing will be spoiled. There must always be individual striving and work and responsibility, competitive spirit. Not that one shall dominate and distribute the benefits to others, and they do nothing but beg from you and provide. No, never mind. There may be botheration to register each center, take tax certificate, etc. Each becomes separate corporations in each state. That will train men how to do these things, and they shall develop reliability and responsibility. So this was Prabhupada's plan of how to manage the entire institution, especially when he would finish his pastimes in his physical body, manifest body. So what is the necessity of reading these technical things here? How is it related to us and our Krishna consciousness? Actually, the seemingly technical things and not so relevant things are very, very important. Why? So the entire process of Bhakti Yoga, it is about submission and it is about surrender. That is Bhakti Yoga, that is Vaishnavism. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam praja. There are few people who want to understand absolute truth, God, without surrendering. They want to use their speculative knowledge and want to understand what is God, from where have I come. But we have to understand what is our intelligence. A small ant can never figure out the intelligence, activities, and affairs of human beings. Ant can never understand. So why we are so proud that we think we'll be able to understand everything about God? So this is impudence. Still, God helps those who help themselves. So such people who have desire to understand what is truth, God will help them. And slowly, life after life, they have to work very hard so that they can improve their intelligence. And after many, many births of cultivating such desire, sticking to the path, bahunam janmanamante gyan man mam prapadyante. So those who are wise after many, many births, they may be able to understand me. And how they will understand me? Ultimately, they have to submit. But they become knowledgeable enough to submit to God. But the same thing can happen very, very quickly if we submit ourselves, we surrender to God. So without knowing how can we surrender? Now also we are doing. Just like some people are telling that you wear masks, you do this thing. I have not seen how virus acts. It works through lungs, it infects through lungs, enters through nostrils or mouth or skin or water, air, we do not know what is it. But some authorities are telling, so it is safe to follow the authorities. A layman doesn't have many options but to follow the authorities in material or spiritual sphere. So those who are less intelligent, they would want to remain dependent on their own intelligence. But wise people, they try to follow the authorities. So similarly, if a person understands here are a set of people who are authorities in the spiritual culture, and so many people have got results, have got complete freedom from laws of nature by following them, they have developed love of God, and the same method is being recommended. And all these authorities who have dedicated their life in the field of absolute truth to find out God, they are giving me this conclusion that Krishna is God. Just like mother is the only way of understanding who is father. In a similar fashion, the only way of knowing who is God is through the Vedas, Vedic information. So those people who are wise, they accept the part of authorities, then they are immediately in this life able to bring their spiritual life to completion. Otherwise, it may take many, many millions of births. It may take a very long time. So, when Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja, surrender unto me, I will free you from all the sinful reactions, do not fear. When it is told by Lord Brahma in Srimad Bhagavatam, Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva, jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam. When Lord Brahma is telling you, please surrender, tad vagavapurabhir vidadan namaste, with mind, body and words, you surrender to Krishna. Then how do we execute it who do not know Krishna? How do we surrender? Okay, we understand. We have to surrender to Krishna's representative. But then representative also is not visible in his manifest physical body. So how do we surrender? So thus it is very simple. Here Srila Prabhupada has thus written, these personalities are now considered as my direct representatives. So either somebody is representative of God or representative of God. It is one and the same thing. So Srila Prabhupada appointed governing body commission as Prabhupada's representatives. So you have to please your spiritual master, then spiritual master will give initiation. And how would it happen in Prabhupada's physical presence also? So the immediate authorities, temple presidents, they would approve that this devotee is sincere and he can be initiated. And then they would write to Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada would approve, would accept, if it is accepted by Prabhupada's representatives. So it is as simple as that. So in Vedic culture, everybody has got some authority. So people are thus, even if you have material desires, you surrender to some Devi Devta, because living entity does not want to surrender to anybody. That is why we are in this material world. So at least surrender to some Devata. You cannot do that. Everybody, all of us have got authorities. Because then only system can work nicely in any company that we take. We have got our immediate boss. Then the whole company will function nicely. Similarly, here also, this institution, this entire material world is an institution. And it has been set up by Krishna so that people have tendency of independent enjoyment, sensual enjoyment, that also can be fulfilled and at the end they all can go back to God. So just to facilitate these ends, Krishna has designed the Varnashrama system, the best way to manage the material world. So here everybody has got authority. So for a child, parents, especially father, is the authority. Children can never say no to father. It is not possible. They have to always say yes. Now, of course, we do not follow this authority system because we are godless. And this entire Varnashrama system has been completely discarded. Otherwise, Krishna, in order to have proper management of affairs, he has established very nice system. Just like in any company there is hierarchy, similarly there is hierarchy here also. So the hierarchy is the parents are the authority, especially the father is authority. Even every family is a small institution. They have got their finances, they have got their HR, they have got procurement, they have so all these things are there even within family. So within the family, the head of family is the father, and then he is authority. The family has to submit to the authority, and then they have to submit further to the king. King is authority for all the people of the state, and in the state there would be many other employers also. So employer is authority for the employee. So Shudra cannot do anything but has to follow the order of the master. And then Shudra is not responsible, whatever master is telling. Similarly, Mandodari, she took Ravana. Ravana was a wrong man, but she was very chaste. So wife's duty is to remain very chaste to wife's authority, husband. And thus, she is glorified. It is told women should hear the character of Mandodari and other. She is among the greatest chaste ladies of the world of all times. So when such ladies are heard of, then women immediately become purified. Oh, she followed but a demon. How? No, it does not matter. You will not be held responsible. You follow your authorities. The only exception is Krishna consciousness. When a person wants to serve Krishna, he or she can leave all authorities. Sarv dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Just like Yudhishthir Maharaj, he was sticking to the Varnashrama rules. No, I cannot tell lie. I have never spoken lie in my entire life, and Krishna is telling you tell lie. So Yudhishthir Maharaj did not, and thus he was given small punishment. This is called niyamagraha, following the rules and regulations without understanding the purpose. Ata varnashrama charvata purushena parapuman vishnur aradhyate pantha nanyat tattosha karanam. The purpose of Varnashrama dharma is Vishnur aradhyate pantha, to worship Lord Vishnu. He can be satisfied by this. Ata pumbir dvijashrestha varnashrama vibhagashaha swanushchitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Pleasure of Hari is the ultimate objective which has to be attained by doing your own duties very nicely. In a company, everyone is doing one's own duties very nicely. But pleasing immediate manager is not the aim of the company, but the proprietor. So samsiddhi, perfection of doing one duty is to please the proprietor. So thus, if proprietor tells something directly, you forget your immediate authority and everything. It is as simple as that. So in a similar fashion, when it comes to Krishna consciousness, then all these things can be abandoned. Authorities can be disregarded. But otherwise, on Varnashrama platform, on moral platform, everybody is supposed to always stick to authorities without caring it is right or it is wrong. That is called dharma. So Kshatriya has to fight. Kshatriya cannot cheat. There are proper rules and regulations for fighting. And in this way, if Kshatriya fights, if Kshatriya dies, then Kshatriya would be promoted to heaven if he follows rules and regulations. So death is also actually promotion in that case. But Arjuna did so much of cheating, and that was done because Krishna was ordering that. Yudhishthir Maharaj did not agree to violate, and thus he is also pure devotee, but these instances are created for our understanding that Krishna is absolute truth, following him is the perfection of religion. So we are discussing that everybody has got authority. So employer is the authority for employee. Shudras, they were taken as employee for the other classes. And then for them, the authority is king. For king, the authorities are Brahmanas. And even though king is very advanced, the example is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Amrish Maharaj, he is a pure devotee of Krishna. He gets into confusion when Durvasa Muni visits him. Still he consults the Brahmanas. So it is mentioned. So one cannot do without consulting authorities. And the Brahmanas, the best of the Brahmanas are sannyasis, and after taking sannyas, very few fortunate souls, somebody may be qualified to become Vaishnava. Vaishnava is authority for everybody. They are direct representatives of Krishna. In this way, the entire material world functions very nicely. The Vaishnava, Brahmanas, they guide the kings, kings guide other people, other classes, they guide their family, their society, and Krishna's will plan is executed. And everyone remains happy, peaceful here, and they approach towards Krishna. So this concept is not known to people, that for proper management of the world to avoid chaos, authorities have to be followed. So now, if we have to surrender to Krishna, we have to surrender to Krishna tells, Pranipaten Pariprashnen Sevaya. First of all, Pranipatena, surrender to Tattva Darshina, a person who has seen truth, my representative, a spiritual master. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. You should surrender to Guru. Sa Gurumev Abhigachet. One has to surrender to Guru. So all the Vedas are telling one has to surrender to Guru. And surrender to Guru means follow Guru's instructions. And what is Guru's instruction? Prabhupada told, these personalities are considered as my representatives. So thus Prabhupada has set up very nice system, hierarchy management here also in society. Just like if a person has to count himself as a gentleman, then one has to follow government's rules and regulations. Prabhupada gives example, one has to follow judiciary. We cannot tell that 80% of judiciary is corrupt. They take bribes and we cannot know. You cannot do that even though you may be knowing that they are corrupt. You cannot give reason police is corrupt, so I will not follow police. Then you will be put into jail. So thus we understand a person has to abide by the authorities. But if you are dissatisfied with immediate authority, so Prabhupada told my disciples, now one may ask, but disciples are not pure devotees, they can give wrong instructions. Yes, it is possible. So then a person can approach higher authority. So although disciples are also selected very carefully, cautiously, but there is a chance in case of such confusion where you are not satisfied with the direction or judgment of immediate authority, then higher authorities can be approached. So immediate authority could be the devotee who is guiding us. And then suppose there is some doubt, then we can always approach higher authority, their authority. Temple presidents are the authority for that area, for the local center. And then there is some further doubt or confusion, dissatisfaction, then there are GBRs, governing body representatives, then governing body commission. This is the topmost body. So in this way, sessions court or high court or supreme court. In this way, a person can always approach, but one cannot tell, oh, high court can change the decision of sessions court, so let me not follow sessions court. No, that is not argument. You follow so long unless the high court does not give other judgment. So in this way, a person always has to remain submissive to the system. So it is very, very simple. So just see, people are confused that, Prabhu, I understand that law of karma works. I am suffering only because of my karma. I realize, Prabhu, that everything, all the sufferings are coming to me because of my misdeeds in the past. But then how do I come out of it? Sarva dharman parityajya, Krishna has mentioned. Complete surrender. And how do we surrender? Simply by surrendering to authorities. And when we remain surrendered to authority, this wonderful system which is said by Prabhupada, that is called surrenderance to Krishna. And as soon as we surrender to Krishna, immediately all the sins are taken away. And the spiritual life starts. So thus this is very, very important. This is very practical. If we simply follow the instructions of our immediate authorities, just like Prabhupada gave example, if you remember in the beginning of the biography, Prabhupada complained about his subordinate and the proprietor became so disturbed, angry with that employee, he removed him immediately. And Prabhupada told, just see, he felt a little bad because of my complaint, this person lost his job. But he understood the importance of pleasing the immediate authority. This is the proper way in which the things function, either in spiritual world or in the material world. So thus this is very practical. This is the way of surrendering to Krishna. And if we simply follow like that, not the person, system. Persons can get corrupted, then system will take care. Those people will be removed from the system. If we find a police officer has done corruption, he is removed from his duties, or judge is told to resign from his duties. So in this way, if people become corrupted, system will take care. But the system has to be followed, set up by Krishna or set up by Krishna's pure devotee. So in this way, Prabhupada established governing body commission, and the authorities of temple presidents were already there. And Prabhupada did not want to create a corporate kind of structure. Prabhupada wanted everybody to have uh, to be independently thoughtful. So all the local centers, yes, governing body commission acts as guides, as instructing gurus. There are two gurus, instructing and initiating. Initiating spiritual master is the person who takes away our karma, and he is called Acharya, and we surrender our lives unto such a personality, and he takes us back to Godhead. And instructing spiritual master could be any of the representatives of Guru. Sometimes initiating spiritual master may not be approachable always. So thus anybody who is sincere representative of initiating spiritual master, such persons are to be taken as Shiksha Gurus or initiating or instructing spiritual master. So the governing body commission, they remain as instructing spiritual masters. They give instructions. However, it is not bureaucracy that you have to control everything and bring it under one stone. So all the centers maintain their individuality, and the local authorities are free to execute the desire of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna and plan their preaching. But they will maintain the spiritual standards, and they will go and guide all the disciples in their independent way of executing the instructions. But all the centers should learn how to remain self-sufficient, and at the same time following the GBC in taking the instructions. But management is different. It is not like one uniform management being controlled at somewhere. Management is separate of all the temples. That will train men how to do these things, and they shall develop reliability and responsibility. Then finally, after this important step, setting up couple of trusts, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust for publishing books, building temples, and governing body commission, finally Srila Prabhupada comes back to India. So this is Calcutta, August 1970. For the first time in almost 3 years, Prabhupada returned to India, to Calcutta, his hometown. Although it was late and the journey has been long, Prabhupada felt happy as he descended the stairway from the airplane. Achyutananda and Jai Pataka, his only American disciples in India, were standing on the airfield. And as they saw him approaching in his saffron silk robes, they bowed down. Prabhupada smiled and embraced them. Calcutta was in political turmoil. A group of communist terrorists, the Naxalites, had been rioting, murdering prominent businessmen, and threatening the lives of many others. Many wealthy Marwadi industrialists were leaving the city for Delhi and Bombay. Aside from the terrorists, Bengali college students were growing unruly. But the older people of West Bengal, comprising most of Prabhupada's visitors, were alarmed by the violence and unrest. The only shelter, Prabhupada told them, was Krishna. People are in very much perturbed condition. All of them are expecting me to do something for ameliorating the situation. But I am simply advising them to chant Hare Krishna, because this transcendental sound is the only panacea for all material diseases. Prabhupada saw no need to fabricate a special program for the social problems of Calcutta. People want to a special program, initiative, buildings, commissions to tackle each problem separately. There is Human Rights Commission, there is this commission, and Women's and Children Commission, and so many other things are set up. Yes, a matter of duty, some departments can be created, but solution is one, and that is Krishna consciousness. People are suffering because of their sinful activities. Unless they surrender to Krishna, become devotees, nobody can get rid of sins, and the suffering would continue. Thus, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is panacea for all of one's diseases. The question was how best to use his American disciples to give this panacea to the Indians. Prabhupada had come with a party of 10 devotees, and he had asked his leaders in the West for 20 more within the month. He had ordered $60,000 worth of books and magazines from Dai Nippon Printing Company in Japan, and his sannyasis were going daily into the streets to perform kirtan. The Sankirtan party was getting a good response. Shaven-headed Westerners wearing shikhas, Vaishnav tilak, and saffron robes, playing kartals and mridangas, chanting Hare Krishna with heart and soul, quoting Sanskrit verses from Bhagavad Gita, affirming Lord Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For Bengalis, this was sensational, and hundreds would gather to watch. Prabhupada knew the great appeal his disciples would have. Everyone would want to see them. He therefore affectionately called them his dancing white elephants. So, from where this white elephant term came, Prabhupada explained. So, these Indians, they started going to West, and the Indian students would get captivated and would marry a Western girl, a white lady, and that was considered a prestige. I have got an American wife. So all these people who went to America and they would return with an American wife. So these American wives were called white elephants because white elephant is very expensive to manage. It eats loads of food every day. So no ordinary person can maintain. So in a similar fashion, to maintain American wife is not easy. So it's like maintaining elephant. And because they were white, so white elephant. So Prabhupada called lovingly his disciples also white elephants. These same devotees who had grown to love chanting Hare Krishna in the streets of San Francisco, Los Angeles and New York were now going into an exhausting heat never encountered in America and chanting on Dalhousie Square for several hours daily. So if air conditioners would make a person blissful, then these people should not have come to India. So those who are very fond of good conditions of living, and these people are suddenly brought into overhead sun and very, very hot Calcutta weather, but they were completely blissful. So it is Krishna consciousness which makes a person blissful, irrespective of the external realities. Crowds would press in closely, sometimes teasing, laughing or scoffing, but more often looking on with deep amazement. Prabhupada's idea was that when Indians saw young Western people adopting the principles of Krishna consciousness, the faith of the Indians in their own culture would increase. Prabhupada explained to his disciples how formerly, during the time of Maharaj Yudhishthir, India had been a Krishna conscious state. For the last 1,000 years, however, India had been under foreign subjugation, first under the Mughals and then under the British. As a result, the intelligentsia and to a lesser degree the masses of India had lost respect for their own culture. They were now pursuing the materialistic goals of the West, and they saw this as more productive and more practical than religion, which was only sentimental. These books, moral codes, were written just to keep us in control. Actually, they don't have literal meaning that there is a God and we have to go to God. This philosophy led to widespread disbelief on one's own culture. Westerners living as renounced Vaishnavas could, as Prabhupada was well aware, turn the heads and hearts of the Indians and help them regain faith in their own lost culture. And when they see the most intelligent Americans, they are picking up our culture, it should have some value. It was not a material tactic, however, but a spiritual strength. Prabhupada stressed that the devotees must be pure in their actions. This purity would be their force. So Prabhupada told, however, remaining American will not help us to make anybody devotee. So extraordinary material ability can help attract people who are stuck on the material platform. So if Krishna comes and stands, we won't be able to see. He is completely spiritual personality. We cannot see. We can just see matter. And if the matter is beautiful, we get captivated, attracted. So Westerners, definitely they are very attractive. People have regard, and especially at that time, great regard for America and Americans. So whatever they would do, they would lead the world by their example. So you will be able to attract the attention. However, if you need to change their hearts also, not just turn the head, but turn the hearts, for turning the heart, you need spiritual purity. Turning the heads can happen, but then they would again continue their own thing. They will never become devotees. So for this, you have to very strictly follow rules and regulations. Then not just heads, but hearts also would be turned. The chanting in Dalhousie Square and along Chauringi had gone on for about 10 days when Prabhupada decided to stop it. The street kirtan, although an excellent method of preaching, was not the most effective method for India, he said. There were many professional kirtan groups in Bengal, and Prabhupada didn't want his disciples to be seen like that as professional performers or beggars. So many people had taken to the profession of begging, as you would have got some of them in railway trains, platforms. They would be coming, singing and begging for some money, or in the road sometimes, having saffron dress and begging money. So sannyasi begs so that householders have a chance to get sukriti. When they do donation for a spiritual cause, then automatically they make spiritual advancement, become qualified to understand Krishna. So this was the mood of sannyasis begging. Otherwise, they are dependent on Krishna and Krishna would arrange. But you go and beg so that there is a chance of giving them sukriti and there is a chance of interaction. When sadhu comes, they will ask few questions. Sadhu would enlighten them. So in this way, this begging is must for a sadhu. But then some people who are good for nothing, they became simply beggars in the dress of sadhu. In this way, entire sannyas culture got degraded. And then people in India cannot make out between a sannyasi who lives like a beggar or a person who is a beggar but living like sannyasi. So Prabhupada told this thing is not very effective in India because people may take you as another kirtan party who just for begging some coins, they sing on streets. And some people actually threw coins also on devotees, Western beggars. So Prabhupada told this may not be very effective method which works very nicely in the Western roads, Western cities. Prabhupada didn't want his disciples to be seen like that as professional performers or beggars. He wanted them to preach in a way that would bring them closer to the more intelligent, respectable Indians as he unfolded his new plans. So Prabhupada very nicely understood the strategy. The Britishers, they started sending the children of kings. So all the princes, when they got Western education and people from respectable families, then the common masses thought, oh, prince goes to West, goes to London, then my son also should go to England and then I am respectable like a king. So as the leaders do, common masses follow. So thus Prabhupada wanted to apply the same principle, which is fact in this material world. People follow the rich people, celebrities, leaders of society. So if these people somehow we can convince them for Krishna consciousness, then masses would follow very, very easily. So Prabhupada then introduced a membership program. You make people members of the society. And in this way, try to educate them about Krishna consciousness rather than going on the streets and doing this thing, which may not be perceived as a very effective way of spreading Krishna consciousness. Speaking one evening in a private home before a group of wealthy businessmen, Prabhupada initiated his life membership program. After lecturing, he invited his audience to become ISKCON life members, and several Calcutta merchants immediately signed. One of them, B.L. Jaju, recollects, I was really overwhelmed by the simplicity of Prabhupada's nature. Thus, everybody notices this great simplicity, humility in Prabhupada's nature. He told me how he had been carrying on his regular business when his guru told him that 400 years back, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said that Hare Ram, Hare Krishna would be chanted all throughout the world. He said that was the job given to him by his spiritual master and that he would have to go to America and do it. I found no snobbery in him. He was very simple. And he was telling, as if my brother was telling me, simply how he went to the USA, how he started, and how gradually he planned to have this Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Seeing his disciples who had changed their lives, I began to think, why not I? In my humble way, I should do something without worrying what other people are doing. I found that imperceptibly he was affecting my life. My wife and even my son were really surprised when they found that these white people whom we thought could never turn to Krishna consciousness had changed so much. So we thought we also must try to follow better the teachings of the Gita. Prabhupada continued holding programs in people's homes and talking with guests in his room. One day, a Mr. Dandharya visited Prabhupada and mentioned Bombay's upcoming Sadhu Samaj. It was gathering of most important sadhus in the country of that time. And he requested Prabhupada also to please give his presence over there. Prabhupada accepted. Bombay, October 1970. The sand of Chapati beach is fine and clean. The audience numbered in thousands. Sadhus sat on stage, Prabhupada and his followers among them. It was twilight. The sky above the Arabian Sea was cloudy and a pleasant breeze was stirring. There had already been 2 lectures expounding the Mayavad philosophy, and now it was time for Prabhupada to speak, the last scheduled speaker of the evening. The audience was eager to hear him, so Prabhupada was kept the last. Otherwise, crowd will hear, and because they had come to hear Prabhupada, the sannyasi, the guru who has done wonder, first time he has taken Vedic culture across And taking means actually converting people. Other sadhus also had traveled to the West, but they could not convert anybody. But Prabhupada had converted everybody, everywhere. So they were very, very eager. Prabhupada was the spotlight of the event. So thus they would keep Prabhupada at the last so that the crowd stays for the entire program. And after 2 lectures explaining Mayavad, it was Prabhupada's turn. Audience was eager to hear him. His accomplishments in the West had caused great curiosity, especially now that he had arrived in Bombay and his devotees were chanting daily in public. Prabhupada's disciples, bored and exasperated by the preceding 2 hours of Hindi oratory, could scarcely wait any longer for Prabhupada to speak. But Prabhupada, instead of addressing in Hindi, turned to his disciples. Instead of addressing the audience, he turned to his disciples and said, "Begin chanting." As soon as the devotees began Kirtana, little Saraswati, who is Saraswati? The first child of ISKCON, Shyam Sundar Prabhu's, the devotee who preached George Harrison, his daughter. She started dancing first, and seeing her, then slowly all other devotees also got up on stage. So Prabhupada sat with all other devotees on stage. They all got up and they started dancing. As the kirtan came alive with mridangas and kartals, the dancing and chanting of devotees seemed to disturb some of the sadhus on stage, who rose one by one and left. The audience, however, responded enthusiastically, many of them standing and clapping. After 5 minutes of ecstatic kirtan, the devotees spontaneously jumped down into the sand and headed toward the audience. Thousands in the crowd rose to their feet and began to move along with the devotees in a dance, backward and forward. Indians began crying in uncontrolled happiness, overwhelmed by the genuine Krishna Bhakti of these foreigners. Never before had such a thing happened. Policemen and press reporters joined in the chanting and dancing. Chapati beach was in an uproar of Hare Krishna Kirtan, as Prabhupada and his disciples showed the potency of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. After about 10 minutes, the Kirtan ended. Though a tumultuous unrest pervaded the talkative crowd. 15 minutes elapsed before all the people returned to their seats and the program could continue. The devotees had left the stage and taken their seats on the ground level, leaving Prabhupada alone on stage. Prabhupada's voice echoed over the public address system. "Ladies and gentlemen, I was requested to speak in Hindi, but I am not very much accustomed to speak in Hindi. Therefore, the authorities in this meeting have allowed me to speak in English. I hope you will follow me because it is Bombay and most people will be speaking English. The problem is, as this evening's speaker, His Holiness Swami Akhanda Nanji spoke to you, how can we make everyone accustomed to take up good habits, sadachar?" So other sadhus would tell normally things, society should be good, we should have sadachar. But Prabhupada told, as the other Swamiji told, we should have sadachar. How do we have it? The age of Kali Yuga is so overwhelming. Prabhupada went on to explain the power of Lord Chaitanya's movement, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement converted Jagai and Madhai. Spiritual life is meant for most exalted sannyasis who renounce everything and take up to it. But it was the power of Lord Chaitanya's movement that most wretched people who had no desire of spiritual life but were disastrous even in material life, they became pure devotees. Now we are saving wholesale Jagais and Madhais. So in West, everybody's Jagai Madhai, Prabhupada told. And also in our country, everywhere now. So now we are saving wholesale Jagais and Madhais. Therefore, if you want peace, so Prabhupada gave practical example how Sadachar can be brought. No other person but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement has become successful in converting Jagais and Madhais, people having bad habits, and made them to Sadacharis. If we want to be situated on the Sadachar platform, then we must spread the Hari Nam, Maha Mantra all over the world. And it has been practically proven. The American and European Vaishnavas who have come here, who have chanted Hare Krishna mantra, they were cow flesh eaters, which was very, very abominable even as per India standards, even now it is. They were drunkards, they were illicit sex mongers, they were all kinds of gamblers. But having taken to this Krishna consciousness movement, they have given up everything abominable. Sadachar has come automatically. They do not even take tea, they do not even take coffee. They do not even smoke, which I think is very rare to be found in India. But they have given up. Why? Because they have taken to this Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada ended his talk after about 5 minutes. I do not feel that I have to say very much. You can see what is the result of Krishna consciousness. It is not something artificial. It is there in everyone. I have not done anything magical, but this Krishna consciousness is present in all of us. We simply have to revive it. So nobody surrenders to anybody in a matter of few days or months. So Prabhupada told, thus we understand Krishna consciousness is not artificial. These people have dedicated their lives to Krishna very soon. People come in a matter of few days or months. They surrendered themselves. So it is because it is already there in the heart. We have simply forgotten. So by proper scientific practices of Bhakti Yoga, this attachment has to be revived. It is already present. We don't artificially try to get attached to Krishna. The audience responded with cheers and a great round of applause. Prabhupada, with greater force and eloquence than the long-winded Mayavadis, had shown the essence of spiritual life, ecstatic chanting of the holy names, and he offered the living testimony of his American disciples. For the next week, Prabhupada and his disciples were talk of Bombay, and they began receiving many invitations to speak and perform kirtan throughout the city. The Times weekly coverage of Sadhu Samaj spotlighted the memorable presence of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. So Times Weekly reported about the event. A group of 20 Americans, members of the Hare Krishna delegation, took over the dais. The air was filled with the beating of mridangas, the clash of cymbals, and the music of the Maha Mantra. Swaying from side to side, their tufts of hair tossing in the breeze, they chanted Hare Krishna. One graying reporter whom I had always regarded, this reporter is telling, as particularly unsentimental person, said to me in an emotion-choked voice, "Do you realize what is happening? Very soon Hinduism is going to sweep the West. The Hare Krishna movement will compensate for all our loss at the hands of the Padris through the centuries." So this was the stint in Bombay. Next, the devotees went to Surat, December 17th, 1970. And devotees tell it was like a dream come true. Thousands lined the street for many blocks while the devotees playing kartals and mridangas and chanting Hare Krishna made their way along. Spectators stood on rooftops or clustered at windows and doorways while others joined the procession. The police stopped the traffic at the intersections, allowing only the Kirtan procession to pass. The earthen road freshly swept and sprinkled with water. People had cleaned, swept and sprinkled the road with water. And it has been decorated with rice flour designings of auspicious Vedic symbols. Green freshly cut banana trees adorned either side of the way. They had decorated entire streets just to receive the devotees very nicely. Overhead, women's saris strung like buntings across the narrow roadway formed brightly colored canopy over the Kirtan party. Mr. Bhagubai Jariwala, Prabhupada's host in Surat, had advertised the daily parade routes in the local newspapers, and now day after day, the devotees were holding the Kirtan procession throughout various sections of the city. While more than 20 of Prabhupada's disciples led the daily procession, thousands of Indians chanted, cheered and clamored to see, and women threw flower petals from rooftops. Often the procession would have to stop as families came forward to garland the devotees. Sometimes the devotees would receive so many garlands that their blissful faces would be scarcely visible, and they would distribute the garlands to people in the crowd. Never before had devotees met with such a reception. It is a city of devotees, Prabhupada said. He compared the people of Surat to dry grass, catching fire. By nature they were Krishna conscious, but the arrival of Srila Prabhupada and his Sankirtan party had been like a torch, setting the city spiritually ablaze. The entire population of Surat seemed to turn out every morning as tens of thousands flocked at 7 a.m. to the designated neighborhood. Men, women, laborers, merchants, professionals, the young, the old, and all the children, everyone seemed to be taking part. Cramming the streets and buildings, they would wait for the Kirtan party. And when the devotees arrived, everyone became joyous. Prabhupada attended only a couple of the morning processions, preferring to stay in his quarters at Mr. Jariwala's home. The devotees had no special paraphernalia other than mridangas and kartals, no flag, no marching band, no ratha, just an enthusiastic kirtan party, and there was no official pandal, no sadhu samaj, Vedant Sammelan, Gita Jayanti Mahotsav, just an entire city of Krishna Bhaktas waiting eagerly for American Hare Krishna chanters. To be worshipped for chanting Hare Krishna was just the opposite of what the devotees had experienced in the West. Hamburg, Chicago, New York, London, Los Angeles devotees had been insulted, threatened with arrests, assaulted and ignored. Of course, sometimes they had been tolerated and even appreciated but never honored. After several days of Kirtan processions, Mayor of Surat, Mr. Vaikunt Shastri, closed all schools and proclaimed a holiday throughout the city. Can you imagine? Has it happened that any sadhu is coming with his disciples and there is holiday in the city? So this was the movement which Prabhupada created, and Hare Krishnas were everywhere, literally everywhere. So the mayor of the city, he closed all the schools, colleges, other institutions and declared a holiday so that whole city can participate enthusiastically. Everyone was now free to celebrate the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and chant Hare Krishna. Signs throughout the city read in Gujarati, "Welcome to the American and European devotees of Krishna," and "Welcome to members of the Hare Krishna movement." Prabhupada had accomplished in Surat what he had intended. He had given the holy name and the people had embraced it. The people of Surat, though not prepared to alter their lives radically and live like ISKCON devotees full times, but they were highly appreciative. They had responded to Prabhupada not out of dogma or ritual, but out of an appreciation of the importance of spiritual life and a recognition that Prabhupada and the movement were genuine. For Prabhupada's disciples, the visit to Surat had given them a glimpse of what the world would be like if everyone were a devotee. ISKCON's New Bombay headquarters was a 4-room flat on the 7th floor of Akash Ganga building. Rent was nearly 3,000 rupees a month, and the devotees had no guaranteed monthly income. Yet, because it was a vital situation in the city, Prabhupada told it is very important to continue living there to propagate the mission. And his next preaching would be a grand 11-day Pandal program. Prabhupada said, if you are going to hunt, then you should hunt for a rhinoceros. In that way, if you don't succeed, everyone will simply say, oh, it could not be done anyway. But if you do succeed, then everyone will be surprised, everyone will be amazed. As Prabhupada revealed his plans for gigantic Pandal festival, the devotees became keenly aware that Prabhupada's inspiration was motivating all their preaching. Without him, they could never attempt anything so bold and ambitious as a giant Pandal festival in Bombay. So Prabhupada told we should have a huge Pandal. How huge Pandal? So that 2, 3, 4, 500 people can come? No. Prabhupada so that 20, 30,000 people can come. Pandal should be so big. So such a big Pandal, how to arrange? There is no money and even rent they cannot give of the building very regularly. And Prabhupada then told, if you have to go hunting, hunt for the rhinoceros. Always have very big plans for spreading Krishna consciousness. If you don't succeed, nobody would complain. But if you become successful, they will tell, oh, such a wonderful thing you have done. So then Prabhupada, when disciples were still little hesitant, Prabhupada told, you are Americans. Americans are known for doing extraordinary things. So stand true to your American designation and do something wonderful. He said, so what is the use of being American unless you do something wonderful? A Bombay Pandal, Prabhupada said, would be the perfect way to link America's ingenuity with India's spirituality. He gave the example of blind and lame man. So America, in absence of right guidance of Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, was although very sound economically and technically, but they were blind. So strong man, if he is blind, cannot do anything in life. Similarly, India, although was having the eyes of the scriptures and saints, but India, because of many years of foreign subjugation and exploitation, had become very poor and had become lame. All the vision is there, but strength is not there. So Prabhupada wanted to combine Indian vision with American strength. And that was the way of converting entire world into Krishna consciousness. The job of Krishna consciousness movement was to combine the two strengths and uplift the world, and one practical application would be the Bombay Pandal Festival. Prabhupada divided the work, assigning Shyam Sundar publicity, Tamal Krishna to Pandal arrangements, Giriraj to fundraising, and Madhu Dvishar to schedule programs on stage. Catching Prabhupada's spirit of shooting the rhinoceros, Shyam Sundar organized massive publicity campaign. And everywhere there were posters and billboards on the railway station, near apartments, at the crossings, intersections, everywhere. They did huge publicity, like floating huge balloons and with streamers carrying Hare Krishna movement's name, and in American way they did publicity. Giriraj recollects, Srila Prabhupada took Bombay by storm. The whole city was alive with excitement about the Hare Krishna festival. We had banners at all the major intersections in Bombay. We had posters up on the walls, many posters on every wall, and we had very big advertisements in the newspaper with beautiful picture of Srila Prabhupada superimposed over a globe, and the words Bhagavad Dharma Discourses, a Hare Krishna festival. World preacher of Bhakti cult, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Day by day, the momentum grew more and more, and every day something new was happening. In this way, very great publicity happened. Then Shyam Sundar had arranged for a big helium-filled balloon that was attached to a very long rope at the Cross Maidan site. It was real American ingenuity, flair, and dynamism. Prabhupada's appearance at the Pandal in the evening was always the high point. He would sit on his Vyasasan, little Saraswati would walk out and garland him, and the crowd would cheer. He would just wait for the crowd to quieten, which never happened. They were so excited seeing Prabhupada. He had done wonders, converted Americans, the leading country in the world, and they made them follow the Indian culture. So crowd would just keep on cheering on and on. They would not quieten at all. So he would just begin speaking, his voice ringing over the powerful sound system. He titled his first lecture, Modern Civilization is a Failure, and the only hope is Krishna consciousness. This was the title of first lecture. So Prabhupada was very, very straightforward. Whatever you have invented, you are thinking you are living in a big city, Bombay, but this civilization you have made is no more than cat and dog civilization. What animals are doing, you are also doing the same things. So Prabhupada was very, very direct. This is failure. There is no use of wasting human life for temporary achievements, which never satisfy the soul. So Prabhupada, we see how the disciples recollect the discourses of Prabhupada. Prabhupada was preaching forcefully to the people of Bombay, and every evening the Pandal was packed with at least 20,000 people, minimum 20,000. Srila Prabhupada would preach so strongly, emphasizing following religious principles. He knew that these people are Hindus, but they are not following these principles. Prabhupada was speaking so powerfully that I knew that what he was saying would be hard for many of the audience to accept. At that time, I was thinking if Prabhupada had wanted to flatter the audience or compromise his philosophy, he could have attracted millions of followers. But because he was preaching so boldly and forcefully without compromise, many of the audience did not like it, because it was a challenge to their sense gratification and to their sentiment. So when Prabhupada spoke so strongly, ahar, nidra, bhay, maithuname, which are eating, mating, sleeping, defending, these are the acts of animals, and criticized this illicit sex life, and the crowd next day, it reduced almost to half. And the disciples told Prabhupada, if we speak like that, then they would stop coming. And again, Prabhupada reiterated the same thing which he had told in America. He told, I have not come here to please the people. I want to give them genuine Krishna consciousness. So we cannot compromise on our philosophy. Children or people of childish mentality, they can do kirtan and prasadam is for them. But I cannot compromise. We should not compromise with our philosophy. We should present it as it is. So Prabhupada, with little compromise in philosophy, little sugar coating or flattering the crowd, Prabhupada could have attracted millions of followers. As many of the so-called spiritualists tell, they are very liberal. Yes, you can do this also, that also, but I am your guru. Need not follow any rules and regulations. But Prabhupada was very strict, and he was always on the point. So Prabhupada did not worry people are increasing or reducing, but Prabhupada would preach very forcefully and very boldly. The fact is that people were wild still about Prabhupada and ISKCON. One night we showed slides of the Rath Yatra in San Francisco, and the audience was going wild. In front of 10,000 people, Prabhupada announced that we will hold Jagannath Rath Yatra in Bombay, and everyone started to cheer and applaud. Day after day, the Pandal festival was a success. Bombay's most important citizens came and were impressed. White-shirted businessmen and their well-groomed wives joined in the chanting. For hundreds of thousands of Bombay citizens coming to the Cross Maidan to attend an evening Pandal program was easy enough. Some were intent on listening to the lecture and inquiring deeply into devotional service. Others came mostly to see the deity take prasadam or appreciate the kirtan. In any case, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and Hare Krishna devotees were a refreshing addition to the life of the city. It was the biggest public event in Bombay. In a city like Bombay, the heart of the nation, it was the biggest cultural event, public event. Then finally, one evening Prabhupada conducted a Vedic marriage ceremony and an initiation before thousands of people. Marriage was arranged between Vegvan, who was a Swedish, and Padmavati Dasi, who was Australian. They completely enchanted the whole audience. She with her ornate red sari and Indian jewelry, including a nose ring, and he with his white dhoti and kurta and clean-shaven head. 6 brahmacharis were initiated at that time also. Giriraj tells, the audience was impressed. First of all, they were amazed just to see the foreign devotees, foreign sadhus. Then on top of that, to see them being initiated, and even more than that, being married in front of 10,000 people, it was overwhelming. So during the ceremony, as Srila Prabhupada made the boy and girl husband and wife, he mentioned that she was from Australia and he was from Sweden. Then Srila Prabhupada said, this is the real United Nations, and everyone burst into applause. So Prabhupada told, please do not try artificial ways and means to unite the nations or families. Always disintegration will happen. Nations will fall apart, families will fall apart, societies will fall apart if you do not bring Krishna in center, who is actually source of all living entities, we being part and parcels. So if you want any kind of unity, any kind of peace, we have to take to Krishna consciousness. With this, Prabhupada finished his Pandal program. So these were some of the amazing pastimes, how Prabhupada was received, whose only aim in life was to glorify Krishna. Prabhupada never bothered about his own publicity or to have a large number of followers, but he never deviated even an inch from the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And Krishna being very merciful, the job of devotees to glorify Krishna, and Krishna's only job is to see to the pleasure of his devotees. So one may wonder that we all have got so many tasks to do. What does Krishna do? What is keeping Krishna busy? So it is very simple. Ye yathamam prapadyante. So the devotee's only task is to glorify Krishna, and Krishna's only task is to see that his devotee is glorified. To take care of his devotees is the only task of Krishna. So thus, if we become devotees, then God personally takes care of us. Then what is the difficulty in life? The simple message Prabhupada wanted to present everybody. So thank you so much for hearing Srila Prabhupada's pastimes in India. Then further, how Prabhupada again goes back on a world tour, and many, many more centers come up, and ISKCON establishes a very strong hold on the planet. These wonderful things we'll understand tomorrow. For now, I request all of you, for now and for any time, whenever you hear any spiritual video or you watch it, you please try to write in comment, what have you realized? So this is very important, and don't get scared by seeing some long comments. Some good devotees have done very nice effort. It's almost like a small essay over there. But don't get worried. You can write few points or even 1 point Prabhupada does, but please write every day. Does not matter even 1 or 2 lines you write, but write down, you can even maybe the bold bullet points. One, this thing I realized, Prabhupada's institution, how Prabhupada established everything. Second, how to surrender to Krishna practically and get rid of all the sinful activities. Third, the impact on the people in India, the experience in Surat, that also could be sufficient. So once you write it down, then the thing goes in your mind. Just like you see in live chat also, sometimes devotees are typing seventh verse of Nectar of Instruction. So that thing has gone into your brain. So these things are very, very helpful. Prabhupada told, just hearing, reading and forgetting may not help that much. We have to contemplate, keep it in our mind in the rest of the day. So as soon as we finish reading, when you are reading Prabhupada books or you are hearing lectures, which we are supposed to do every day, immediately after reading or after hearing, spend 5 more minutes or 2-3 more minutes and jot down what are the points you have learned. In that way, we will be able to contemplate, keep it in our mind. So please do write these things in the comments, and please try to like the video and try to share also, so that we can take Srila Prabhupada's pastimes to many, many people around. Thank you for hearing again. We'll meet tomorrow with more pastimes of Srila Prabhupada across the world. Hare Krishna.